you'll see that your life will just dramatically change. And now you're building a life around what really matters to your soul.
We all communicate with nature. It's a part of us. It's part of what we're meant to do.
Good morning, everyone in Spirit Sessions land. We're so happy to hear you all across the globe, internationally, and all the ships at sea. So, everyone, please like our page. Please share this show out. The winner of today's share out will win a session with me. And so you'll get a 30-minute healing session with me through your Akashic records. And who won this week from last week will be announced at the end of the show, and they went a session with the wonderful Teresa. So, now we got Ellen on 2 pages. So I'm not quite
sure. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. We have a wonderful guest that Teresa found for us, and I'm going to let Teresa introduce her. So thank you, everyone. Comment where you're coming from, where you're watching from. Just love seeing you all here today.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited because Ellen was showing me all these amazing and beautiful things that she's been doing. It's like, oh my gosh, she has to be a guest. And one of the most important things is she came from the roots of having a very difficult. In the 50s, she was diagnosed. No, you weren't diagnosed back then, but you had the dyslexia, which my mom from that same era had dyslexia. And the things you have to do in your life around that to help out was amazing. And your story, Ellen, was so beautiful that I just know we have to share this with our audience here, for all of us overcoming different kind of difficulties and challenges and stuff. So, my friend, welcome to the show, and tell us how you got to this point in your life.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me and be able to share with you guys. One of the first things I want to talk about is my childhood. And being when I have my, I'm having some echo.
Yeah, I think you're signed in twice somehow, but I'm not quite sure how.
Should I hit the bottom one?
That's okay. It's okay. I think I got it solved.
Okay,
so go ahead.
There we go. That's better. Okay, when I was a child, it was very difficult for me. Goodness, I'm still getting that.
So have you got us on 2 different devices, Ellen?
Yeah, because I see you twice. We could just edit out this, kick it out.
Yeah, I'll kick that one out. Okay, there you go. Okay, try it now.
Yes.
Okay, wait a minute. Let's see here. Don't.
Yep, you're good.
We hear you fine.
Okay, yeah. I don't see you, but that's all right, as long as you can hear me.
We hear you and see you.
Okay, good. And this sounds a lot better now. This is great. Okay, again, as a child, when I grew up, I think I was psychic even then. I remember it seems like I always lived in a little spiritual world, a little magical world. Everything that I probably seen it different than other people did. Animals and rocks and stones, they all seemed like they had more energy, like there was a life to them. And I remember having dreams about things before they happened, even when I was young. And then there was one incident where my dad was driving a car, and I knew before it happened. I said to this boy, and he was on the side of the road, I said, "You need to move or you're going to get hit." Mm-hmm. And I think he was playing chicken. And then at the last minute, he did run in front of the car, but I knew before it was going to happen. Now, my childhood went pretty well until I went to school. Now, when I went to school, it was painful. It was extremely painful. I grew up in the 1950s. They knew nothing about people that were dyslexic. And here I was in a classroom, and all these other kids seemed like they could learn very easily, and I could not. And I think they thought I was a lazy child. I think they thought I was a stubborn child. And I'm sure it was very frustrating for them also. But the thing of it is I knew that there was something wrong. but I didn't know what to do about it. So I would go home at night before a test, like a spelling test, and I would have to sit. They didn't know. They thought I was being lazy, but I had to sit for hours and write the same word over and over again. And for one thing, I would memorize it, but also I would memorize the feeling of writing that word. And then when I took the test, I could do it. And this worked fine for the everyday test. Like, once a week, I did good. But when it comes to the 6 week test or the taking the one at the end of the semester, I would always fail. I failed terribly. And then it ended up being on my report card like a D minus or an E or an F, is what they call it now, because I couldn't keep it together. Now, the thing that I'm talking about is the gifts from the challenges. So there's always a rainbow after the storm. My rainbow happened when I was around 26 years old. I was lying in my bed and I was asleep, and I was awakened by, again, some rhythm, some feeling that was coming over me. And then I heard a voice speaking to me, and it told me to get up and write this down so it wouldn't be lost. So I got up and I wrote it down exactly as it told me to do. And then I went back to sleep. And the next morning when I got up, I was so surprised at what I had written. And one of the gifts there is I could not read and write very well. So the last thing I ever thought that I would be a writer. And so I knew that this had been channeled. There was no doubt in my mind. So if I was able to read and write, I would have not known or recognized what had happened. So there's the gift there. So after I got the automatic writing, I was compelled to learn more about poetry. So again, I would sit in my bed, and if you see me, you would see me sitting there with the pillows propped up, and I had all these books surrounding me of poetry. And also I found the biggest encyclopedia that I could find and the biggest dictionary that I could find. And I set them beside me because we didn't have Google back then. So I would read sometimes just a sentence, and I would have to look up a couple words, and I would write them down. This went on for about 2 or 3 years, and it finally got to the point where I understood something that was going on. Now, I do have a book called The Light in My Mind, and this poem called Learning is about that. And so I want to read it to you, if you don't mind. I'll read it right out of the book.
Thank you.
Okay. And it's called Learning. It says, even as I struggle through this endless darkness of not knowing or understanding, nor being able to take hold of this truth that I know has to exist here among these words, still, I am able to only stumble upon bits and pieces that I can comprehend. Slowly, painfully, filling in the puzzle, I go over the same words again and again, blindly reaching out with my soul, which finally enables me to touch open the truth. With the grace of God, it all falls into place. My broken thoughts are now held together by the knowledge I see and know as truth. This thrills me like a comet crossing the blackened sky. The light in my mind is just as bright, and the feeling of wonder stirs me just as deep. For each is an awe-inspiring to behold. To strive and learn is evidence that one is truly alive. And that one part of that where it says, the light in my mind is just as bright, that's where the name of the book came from, The Light in My Mind, came from that particular poetry.
Ellen, can I ask you something? I know I have learning difficulties, and I know one of the parts of mine was reading out loud. So since you have had this experience, have you been able to read out loud better because you read out loud perfectly well, or do you have to practice a lot? I was just wondering if it's helping heal your dyslexia, what's happened with you.
I think it has. And there's something else that I do. I have to watch my nerves. If I get nervous doing something, I leave my body. Mm-hmm. And when I do that, I can just feel like my voice sounds like an echo. I think that's why the echo that I was getting back when I was trying to talk was disturbing to me, because it was distracting. But yeah, when I did the audiobook, I practiced for probably a week reading each one of them because I wanted to make sure that when I was reading it, I do my best to feel. I get in this moment and then I kind of channel down the God presence, the light. And when I'm reading it, if I get goosebumps, which I call chicken skin sometimes, but if I get my goosebumps, I know that I am in spirit and I know that I'm feeling it. And when I do that, I'm in hopes that when somebody reads it or hears me read it, that they will feel the spirit also. So I hope also to be able to pass that on to them. But no, reading out loud isn't the easiest because of the reading, being able to read. But the more you do something and practice it, the better you do get, you know. And but I think that's a good question.
I'm just wondering, because you channeled it, it's kind of effortless to speak it out loud again, and less effort to speak it out loud again. I'm wondering.
Yes,
That's
I
awesome.
think so. And when I was doing the audiobook at the studio, the girl that was doing it for me, she thought that if I missed a word that she needed to fix it. And I was like, no. And it's from doing the past life regressions that I'm able to stay in the space once I get there. Once I'm relaxed and I'm connected to the source, I'm able to stay there. So I could go back and just wherever she wanted me to end. And I was still connected to the poem and I was able to read it and still had the feeling and the connection, in hopes again that other people will feel what I'm feeling when I read it.
So when you downloaded these poems, did you then learn about past life regression? Was that after you learned that modality?
I think it came pretty close to the same time, to be honest. I mean, one day I just started being compelled. I always say the spirit will take you where you need to go. And if you don't want to go, it still take you, kicking and screaming if you need to. And, but you're going to go there. There's been 2 or 3 times in my life that this has happened and they've been very profound. Once you get there and you get used to it, you're glad and you're blessed to get there. But the first one was when I decided to get a divorce. It was something it's the last thing that I thought I would ever do. But there was something inside me that I had to do this in order to make this change in my life. And it was after my divorce is when all this stuff started opening up. It was like it was preparing different nest for me to go in order to be able to produce what I needed to produce. So again, when that poem came to me, it was the start of a new life for me. It was a new opening, a new beginning. And I had a lot of dreams. Again, when that was going on, the dreams used to be so profound. People would come to me and ask me a question, and I would be dreaming. In the middle of the dream, it would tell me, okay, tell this person this, and I would. And it was usually the answer that they wanted or they needed. So that was very interesting to be able to do that.
That's very cool.
Oh, I love that.
So that's the light in your mind became the light in your whole life, really.
Yes, it did. And the name of that poem is called My Answer. And it's always the first one in my book that I had because I honor it because it was the beginning. It was the opening, going through that cave and open and there's a light on the other side. It was so blessing. It was such a deep, profound blessing to be able to have this happen because I never dreamed that anything like this would happen in my life.
I think that's such an important thing for us to remember and recognize is that so many times what we resist the most tends to be our greatest gift. It tends to be our purpose, the thing that we have the hardest time with. And so when we can sit back and see that from an objective perspective, and really see how it shows up in our life over and over again, we're ready to face it and embrace it, and then it gives us the most amazing gifts and connections and abilities. And thank you for being a testament to that.
Yes, thank you. Now I want to talk also to parents. When you're a parent, the main thing that you want to do is protect your child. Now, when they're little, you need to, but when they get late in their teens and also when they are young adults and sometimes even afterwards, we tend to want to reach out and save them when something's happening. And my what I think that it'd be good to do is let them, do whatever they need to do. It. If they get hurt, they learn from it. And if we rush in to help them, their spirit actually even gets upset with us. That's the reason the children get mad. Mom, don't tell me what to do. I'm okay. I can do this. Because what we are actually doing is taking their gifts away from them. We're taking their gifts away from them so they cannot expand and get and grow and learn and be more. And also, when they're doing something, it may look horrible, but it may be their greatest moment. Looking at things different a lot of times can open us up so we could have some understanding. And we're reviewing things in the world. If we can view it and not judge it, judgment comes in our mind. We see something, this is wrong, this is right, this is right, this is wrong, but it really just is. And one of the best ways to know if you're looking at something, if you're judging it, you feel it. You feel a emotion in it. If you're viewing it, it's like watching TV. You can be away from it, not emotionally connected to it. So that's the best way to know if you are or not, is to just, And another thing I think is very important is to be in the moment. If we can be in the moment at any given time, then we're connected. If we are thinking about other things from the past or worrying about something that's going to be in the future, our mind is busy. And it's like a phone. If something's calling and the source is trying to come through, if our phone is always busy, we're not going to get it. That's the reason when we're getting ready to work cases or work on my homes, you sit down and you quiet it and you open those channels up in order for them to come through. Now, I think also that, let's see. Oh, I remember there was another one. The acceptance. Again, I want to go back to that. Is a lot of times when something happens, we ask why. Why did my child do this? Why did this happen to me? Why is all these things going on in the earth right now? Why? And I found out that the wisdom is not in asking why. The wisdom is in acceptance. Because when we quit fighting it, it's going to happen anyway. So if we fight it, it's able to go through us, like air through a screen door. And if we're resisting it, we're hanging on to it with our own emotions and we're adding to it. It's like a snowball. Anytime that we think about something and dwell on it, we're not helping it. We're making it worse. And another thing I want to bring up too is if we're thinking about the past, a lot of times that's what causes depression. And if we're thinking about the future and what could happen or would happen, we don't know, that causes anxiety. So again, if we're being a human being and being in a moment, that's where our power is. And we're really not alive in any other part. We're thinking about what's going to happen or has happened instead of being in the now.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. I remember Dr. Wayne Dyer saying that worry and regret were two of the most useless emotions because they were putting you either in the past or the future, So that's kind of neat.
That's so perfect. I actually got a shirt yesterday that says, "Every morning we're born again. What matters most is what we do today." And I was like, it's so perfect with what we're talking about. It just came out at me and I was like, I have to have that because it's been a really important journey for me to try to find a way to stay in the moment. And I struggle with it. I get distracted very easily. So the universe gives me lots of reminders to get back in the moment because that's the only thing that matters is right now.
Absolutely. And, it's a practice. If you practice it, and sometimes, maybe it'll take us a week to get back to the moment. And then after we practice it for a while, always be, easy on yourself because you'll get better. It's like, having a muscle. The more we use it, the stronger it gets and the more we're used to using it also. And it becomes something that finally comes like the subconscious and we're able to do it. Because I think we all fall out of there. But to recognize that we're not in a moment by, the way we feel or what we're thinking, to draw us back, then we can say, wait a minute, I'm not I'm not home. I'm not where I should be. I need to go back to where, my power is, and when I'm connected to the universe. Now there's another. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say you had another poem for us.
Yes.
And you were just about to do that. Sorry.
Yes, I do. Now do I have time to tell another story?
You
Sure.
do.
Okay. I wanted to share this with you because it was very dramatic, but even with something like this, you can still get the good in it. You can still harvest the good in it. It's there. Sometimes when something dramatic happens, I'm not saying it happens overnight. I'm saying that you will seek it. If you're seeking it, you'll eventually get things and they'll open up to you. So back in August 12th, 2018, we suffered a home invasion. At 5 o'clock in the morning, when it was still dark, we heard a large noise, a bang, and then our alarm went off. And Paul wakes up so much quicker than I do. By the time I jumped up, he was already down the hallway trying to find out who it was or what was going on. The time I stood up, I could hear the gunshots going off. And I counted 7. And then at that time, finally, he went through the hallway to the front door. I ran around to the back door through our bedroom. And while I was coming in, I seen that person leaving. And when they was leaving, all I seen was their back, and I could see their hand going like this when they was going out. And later I told the police about that, and they told me that's because he didn't want to leave any fingerprints. He said he's done this before. So, and the thing that was so odd about it, he didn't steal anything. I don't know if he went to the wrong house. It was, a hit from a gang. I don't know what it was. We still don't know what it was. But from moment to moment, live your life, because it can change in just a blink of an eye. Just like that, I came in and here's Paul laying there in a puddle of blood. He was still conscious. And he said, Ellen, he said, I want to tell you, if I don't make it, I love you. And at that point, I couldn't think, I couldn't do anything. So I called my daughter, who lived down the street, and her and her husband, who's a police officer, came down very quickly. She said that was the quickest ride she ever had. And they've had some training in this emergency. Both of them had. So Paula, first thing, she ran over and she realized where her dad was bleeding out the most. And Doug did too. So he yelled at Paula. He had a tourniquet in his car. So they got that. And we found out later that Paul had been shot in the stomach. They blew out his left hip. They blew out his left arm. They shot him in the rump. They severed his ureter and his kidneys. And he was shot twice in the head. The head one, there's scars, but it didn't penetrate completely. But he did lose most of his hearing in that one right side of his head. Now, we spent probably a week in intensive care. He went through 4 operations in 5 days. So he was very much in and out. And we couldn't have anybody into the hospital. Only Paula could come in. That's the one that went to the hospital with me originally. Because they didn't know if that person knew if he was alive or dead. And, the person could come in and try to finish it. Because I'm sure he didn't know if Paul would recognize him or not. So we stayed undercover for over a month. Now, while I was there, I would get on my cell phone at night and talk to a group of girls and people and friends, and I would tell them what I wanted them, ask them what I wanted them to pray for every night, different parts of the body, because from one day to the next, he would have different things come up that he was struggling with and trying to stay alive. And one night, it dawned on me. I told him, what do you want? I said, I want you to pray for him. And they said, what? I said, no, I want you to pray for him. And they said, oh, yes, you're right. We're all one. And then Paul, when he finally got all the tubes out of his throat, he told us also, he said, when I was going in and out of consciousness, I was praying to God and asking God, how can I forgive this person? What can I do to be able to forgive them? And he told him, he says, see this person as a little child. the little child that didn't get what he needed when he grew up that caused these things to happen. So by doing that, he was able to forgive it and let that thing go. Because if you carry something like that with you, it affects you. If you're able to forgive it and release it, again, it causes healing. I think that's the reason Paul was able to heal and get better, because the police and the hospital, nobody thought he was going to make it. I mean, he's 78 years old and being shot 7 times. You know, a person that's young and being shot that times, they usually can't make it. But evidently, his work on this plane was not finished. And the only thing he has is a drop foot, but he gets along quite well. I mean, it's amazing what he can do. Now, again, the thing of finding the good in what's going on. And even through this, I want to read this to you because I wrote this poem a while back before this happened. And it kept coming to me when I was going through this. And it's like, how is that? How can I find that? Because with all that was going on and it was so horrible, I didn't know if even myself, I could get there. But I found out that I could walk my talk. Now, this was called See the Good. And it says, anytime I am given a situation, a problem to deal with, I find there is always a choice on how to handle it. So I choose first to count from 1 to 10, giving myself some space between stimulants and response. Then I pretend in my mind that I am holding this thing in my hands. First, I look at it and see the problem. It feels like sharp broken glass with my blood all over it. I want to drop it, for it makes my hands feel oh so painful. Still, I continue to roll it around in my palms, and I move it around in my mind. I look at it. I study. Where is the good? What can I learn from this pain? Finally, in time, I can see things clearly. I look inside my hands, and there is a pearl. So cool, so smooth. It's a beautiful relief to behold. Oh, pain, I found you out. Your grip of fear no longer works here. I am free. I've been shown that the pain was a gift. So through time and patience, I now have a pearl of wisdom to keep.
Wow.
I love
Beautiful.
that.
And can you tell us again the name of your book there and show the front cover, please?
Sure. It's called The Light in My Mind. Can you see it?
Most
Yes,
beautiful cover.
gorgeous.
Yes, the girl that helped me do this, she designed it for me. Her name is Dee Dee Scott. She is wonderful. And I've had other friends help me with putting the book together. This has been more than one person. And I always thank every one of them. It was like a group of angels that come together to do this. So just like that, you know, finding the gifts in the challenges. This thing was the biggest challenge I ever had in my life. But I never would have my poems published before. I never put them all together to have them published because I was scared. And then once I lived through this, I figured I could live through anything. As she was talking before about getting up in the moment, after this happened, each moment is sweeter.
Wow.
You know, I'd wake up in the morning and there's Paul laying beside me, and it could have been that he wouldn't be. So I always say it's a brand new day. It's full of wonder and possibilities because it is.
Beautiful.
So, you know, we grow through everything. And also, even doing this, I wouldn't have done this before. I've been too scared. So this thing has propelled me forward to being out in front of people more. And I'm not scared to do it anymore because I know that this is just this moment. This is just this lifetime. We need to embrace it because, you know, you don't want to be at your last breath and think, I wish I'd done it different.
Right.
That's beautiful. Such an inspiration.
Oh.
Definitely.
Now,
Knowing the younger you, one of our callers said, knowing the younger you adds sweetness to your poetry.
Oh, how neat.
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Vicky.
There's another thing I wrote, you know, with if we are scared, there's a part of us that isn't trusting the universe. And I look for signs. I look for things all the time. And you can do that when you're in the moment. If I see two things happen or it comes to me twice, I'll look at it closer because I know that's a message in that. And I pay very close attention to these things. It's like little breadcrumbs that take you to where you probably need to go. And I wrote this the other day too. I think it's in September. It says, with all my knowledge and wisdom, if I am resisting the moment, I have nothing. So if we're not allowing and we're trying to keep things from happening, it doesn't matter how smart we are. It doesn't matter how much knowledge we have. We're not using it. We have to allow things to come in, and then we can live our life. I mean, we can't, when we're thinking about the past, we're thinking about what used to happen, or we're having dress rehearsal or what could happen. We want to be in the now. I remember also, and earlier in my life, I was in a relationship where I was very, all the time I wake up and it was obsessive. Wake up in the morning thinking of the person, going to bed thinking of the person. And I found that is kind of like a record skipping. And we get stuck there. Now, I even learned something from that. I finally decided that, I'm trying to make sense out of nonsense. We can't do that. Sometimes we're trying to change that person, but that isn't where our power is. It's within ourselves. We can't change that person or what they're doing. And once I got to that, I was looking at what had happened with that whole situation. And I realized that instead of loving, my mind was going into longing. Mm-hmm. And then I went way back to when my grandmother died when I was 6 years old. I longed for her for years to be with me. And it was still with me. And through going through this, that cellular memory of me longing, I've traced it back to where it started, which was my grandmother. And I was able to release that and not continue to go on with that type of relationship with people anymore, or situations getting stuck. I knew what the source of it was. If you go back to the source and release it, then you got it.
Yes.
Cool.
I love that.
So tell us what's going on in your world, and all your information is in the description of this video, how to find your website where you do past life regressions and all sorts of other modalities with your partner, Paul, your husband, Paul, and your book, links to your book here and there. Tell us what else. Are you doing a new book? Is one coming out?
Yes, I am doing a children's book also, and awesome. It's got a pretty nice little name to it, and it's true names. It's the grandmother had dogs, and one was called Jack Nasty Face, and the other one was called Peewinker. So it's Adventures of Jack Nasty Face and Peewinker, and these are true stories. So I wrote that, and I'm sure there'll be some more after that one also. But I had the one that I have now, the Light in My Mind. This month, I'm pretty sure that the audiobook will come out. And I was so blessed when I was in the studio. The gentleman that was the producer, he made some music to go with each one of them in the background that helps carry it.
Nice.
So, and I want to say this too. One of the things that most people comment on my book is a book of poems, but with each poem, there is another page. There's a story of inspiration of what brought this poem to life. And sometimes the poems come first, but then I look at it and I realize where it came from. So a lot of people say they really like it. So it's called Poems and Inspiration. And I think it kind of makes it unique. And yes, I did write another book. I've already sent it to the publisher. Through what's been going on, it's taken a little bit of time to get it done because of the COVID-19 and some of her people's been sick, but I'm sure it'll be out this year. And I'm working on the third one. So
beautiful.
Wow. That's such a wonderful thing. Great. And you said you had something going on your Facebook this week, a special gift for everyone.
Yes. I was able, never did this before either, but I got on there and figured out how to do it. For Amazon, it's where you can order this out. For today and tomorrow, you can go on Amazon, and I have it set up free to download. So you can download this book for free, and you just have to put in my name and the title of it, and it'll come up, and it has it there that you can hit it, and you can download it on any device, and it's free. So I hope
Downloads are lovely, but I always like the hard book. So you can get the download so you can take it with you, and then you can order the hard book so you can give it away to someone you love. Yeah, afterwards. So
Good idea.
yeah, that's good too. I agree with that. One thing I find an advantage of downloading it sometimes on my device is I can make the words bigger.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
And,
for
and
sure.
yeah, and that's easier for me to read because my eyes get tired easy, and this really allows me to do a lot more on the computer by making it bigger. But I'm like you though. I like to hold it in my hand and be able to see what is going on and have it there for you, like at your bed at night. You can do it. But most of the time when I'm getting ready to go to bed at night, I used to keep a pencil and paper or pen and paper close to me because I'll be getting ready to go to sleep, and I have to get up and write. I mean, it just again,
Nice.
it just comes to me, and so
That's really
and you always want to write it down because you'll think, well, I'll remember it. No, you don't. You're in a different frame.
like dreams.
Exactly.
They're
Yeah,
gone.
Exactly.
Because I've done that before. And think, nah, I get it. I wake up, it's like, what? Oh, I just wasted that. And you don't want to waste it.
Bex, you have some questions for our
I
guest.
do. Before I get to the questions, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. And I pray that, when I face challenges, I can have even an ounce of the grace that you have. So thank you for
Aw.
sharing that. That is such an amazing, amazing story, all of it. And the gifts that have come out of it are just absolutely breathtaking. And, we really appreciate you so much. So thank you for showing up today.
Thank you. I'm getting rushes and chills. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So the first question is, if you had to choose a song to be the theme song of your life, what would it be?
I thought about this for a while, as you had recommended that I would. And the first song that came to me is Everything is Beautiful by Ray Stevens.
Yeah.
But then I got to thinking more, and a lot of things I can feel the rhythm of it. There's something about the rhythm of a song that touches me. So the one I would pick is Southern Nights by Glenn Campbell. And if you listen to it, you would see that there's a lot of things talking about, it's almost poetic, the words in it. And also at the end of the song, it says, it wishes that we could stop this fighting in this world. And I think that represents me more than anything. It's our hope that our world can come together. We have 7.5 billion people on this earth, and each one of them have a different reality. And we're supposed to not be the same. We're supposed to be able to think different. I mean, what would be the purpose of it? Each piece should be different. And I just think that, if we could find a way to reach out to each other, to seek first to understand and then to be understood, that helps a lot of times. To give somebody a moment to understand them. And a lot of times that will open them up. If you take the time to get to know them, it opens them up, and you'll find, even if you find just one little thing that you like about that person, it gives you a chance to get to know that person. And there's a big difference between loving and liking also, at least it is for me. I love everyone. Like Nama say, my God in me sees the God in you. But just like my neighbors, I love all my neighbors, but I like them different. Sometimes I don't even like what some people do, but that's their journey. That isn't up to me to choose what they do. My choice and what I need to do is just send love to everyone to help raise the consciousness.
Beautiful.
Exactly right. Yes.
Yes. All right. So the next question is, what is your favorite crystal right now?
My favorite crystal is the quartz crystal. I use it a lot. People, when I'm on Facebook, and also people calling and asking for healings, I always put that white light around them. and I can see it, I can feel it, and it seems to be so powerful, that purity of it. So yes, that's the one that I use and that I count on every time anytime I need something, that I go to that.
That's awesome. Beautiful
I like
choice.
those.
And Rhonda has the next question for you.
Okay.
Okay, and we chatted about this, so I find it. I'm going to change my question. So, have you had experience with ETs? And if so, tell us a little bit. And if not, tell us what you think about them.
Well, I have had an experience, and I do believe in it. I think it was back probably in the 80s. I was living in a small village. It was similar to living out in the country, and I was laying on the couch, and it summertime, so I had the door open and just the screen door there. And then I woke up and I heard this humming, and it was loud. And I got up to see what it was. I thought it was a car or something. And I looked out the window and I seen this huge, kind of an orangey red orb. And you could see it. And I was so thrilled. I mean, I wasn't scared. I was excited. I've been waiting for this my whole life to be able to see something like that. So I didn't want to leave, but my husband was asleep in the other room. So I finally ran in. I said, get up, get up. But when I came back, it was gone. So when I lived out the country, I ran down the country road hunting for it. I just felt for sure that it was still out there. But I never even thought about it till years later that maybe if I looked at the time, maybe there was a time like an hour that I wasn't there, because I realized later in life that I do have a knot here on the side of my head. And I had a dream once that I was laying on a operating table, and it was very quick. I just opened my eyes up and I seen blood on that side, and they told me it's like she's awake. And all of a sudden I could see the light above me, like an operating light. And they said, she's awake. And then boom, I was gone. That's, I don't know if it had anything to do with it, but I do know that it seems like I am so connected. I'm more and more connected all the time. And I wonder, why am I able to do these things and get such a large success over it? And I think that has something to do with it.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much. And you have a few announcements there, Bex Marie. Thank you so much for being with us. And please feel free to comment. And if anybody has questions for Ellen, just put them in the comments, and she hopefully will go in and answer them directly to you. Visit her webpage. And I'll let Bex say our last announcements.
All right, thank you. So as we're closing up, just remember that if you want to win a chance to win a healing session with Rhonda, share this out. If you share out the most, you're the winner. It's a really easy way to win, and we really appreciate the support and the love. So yeah, take some time, share this out, invite friends. What an amazing story. Everyone will be inspired by it, and it really helps us to get a good perspective on, where we're focusing our energy. It's about now, being in the moment, and let's enjoy more of that. The winner of last week's Share It Out, who won with Teresa, is Teresa Holmes. Congratulations. And thank you so much for your love and support. And Teresa will be contacting you to get that set up. So thank you all so much for hanging out today. And we love you guys so, so much. And we wish you a very blessed week. We'll see you next Sunday.
Namaste. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.